Welcome student to the Political Parties chapter, class 10th CBSE Democratic Politics. Now in this chapter we will be studying about political parties, why we need political parties and how many parties are good for a democracy. And then later we'll be talking about some national and regional political parties and try to see what goes wrong with these political parties and how we can reform them. So first of all, we will be studying about the need of political parties. Political parties, you can say, are the most visible institutions in our democracy. And they are present everywhere. All the people, though they may not be knowing anything about the constitution, but if asked, they know plenty about the political parties, and that is a very favorite topic for them to critically analyze the political parties. They will start criticizing the political parties for whatever is going wrong in their lives around. First of all, it becomes quite natural to ask how many parties do we need. So in order to understand that, first we need to know what is a political party. Now, a political party is a group of people who come together to contest elections and hold power in the government. They have a common ideology. They seem to have a common program, a common set of policies with a view to promote the collective good. And each party tries to convince the public that they are better, that their policies are better than the others. Then after we have understood the meaning of the political party, we come on to the components of a political party. Mane, what are the parts of a political party who all comprise a political party? Now there are some leaders, some people who are leading the political party. Then we have some active members who are really working for the party, and then we have the followers who follow that particular party, who follow the party's ideology. Now we'll be talking about the functions of the political party. And the first function is parties contest elections. Now here parties select their candidates in different ways. They select those candidates whom they think that these are most, you can say, they are viable to be elected from that particular constituency. Now in countries like USA, there the members and supporters of a party choose their candidates, whereas in countries like India, top party leaders choose candidates for contesting elections. Second function is the parties put forward different policies and programs, and the voters choose from them. Now, since we all know there are variety of opinions and views among the people, so a government obviously cannot be run on all those variety of views, and therefore in our democracy all these opinions are grouped together to provide a direction in which policies can be formulated by the governments. And this is what the parties do. Party reduces a vast multitude of opinions into a few basic positions which it supports. They have clubbed all those policy, all those viewpoints, and bring out some basic few points which it supports, and the government is run on these lines which the ruling party takes. Right? A government is run on these very basic points of the party. Third point is parties play a decisive role in making laws for a country. We all have learnt right from classes 7th and 8th and onwards that how bills are debated in the legislature, and then they are put up for voting, and once they have been passed successfully and got signed by the president, they become the laws. So here also the parties play a role in making laws. Fourth point is parties form and run governments, right? So the parties which get a majority, they form the government, they run the government. Here the parties recruit leaders, they have their leaders, they train them and then make them ministers to run the government in the way they want. Fifth function is parties that lose in the elections, even they have a work to do. What work? They play the role of opposition. So they by sitting in the parliament or by sitting in the legislature, be it the parliament or be it the Vidhan Sabha, there also they are raising their voice, they are putting up their views, they are critically analyzing the government and hence playing a vigilant role there. Even if they don't win the elections, still amongst the people, as even if they have lost the elections, they are still among the people and they are putting up their views, they are trying to mold the people in a favorable direction, in the direction they want. They are trying to make the people aware of what the government is doing. Sixth function is parties shape public opinion. So on the basis of the issues which are raised by the political parties, the people tend to form their opinion. But whatever stand the party takes, it is on that basis a party becomes popular or unpopular amongst the people. Seventh function is that parties provide people and access to the government machinery and welfare schemes implemented by the governments. And for an ordinary citizen, it is easy to approach a local party leader. He finds it very easy to go and contact the corporator or the MLA from of his region rather than going to a government officer. And this is where they feel that they can get their work done even though they are criticizing those party leaders, even when they are criticizing the parties. So the parties have to be trustworthy, isn't it? The parties have to be responsive to the people's needs and demands. Otherwise, people can reject those parties in the next elections. After studying the functions, we again ask ourselves, but why do modern democracies cannot exist without political parties? What is the necessity of having political parties? So we can just imagine a situation without parties. If in the elections every candidate is independent, so there will be nobody who will be making promises for any major policy change, right? So for a major policy to be taken, there has to be a group, there has to be a political party. All independent candidates will be responsible only for their constituency. They won't be responsible for the whole nation or for the whole state, right? They won't be able to function independently. They'll be just accountable to their constituencies. Then in the panchayat elections also we can see what happens. Though the parties do not contest formally, we notice that the village does get split into one or more factions, and where each group sets up its own panel of candidates. So this is what the party is also doing. The party is putting up their panel of candidates to be chosen, to be working as the representatives of the people, right? So we can understand, we can come to this conclusion, we can draw this inference from this, that the political parties are directly linked to the emergence of representative democracies. The large societies, large countries do need representative democracy. As societies are becoming large, we need to have some agencies, we need to have some people who can gather our different views and present them to the government. They are needed to bring it is a need to bring various representatives together so that a responsible government can be formed. There is a need to oppose there is a need for a ruling party. So similarly, there is a need for a party to oppose them. There is a group which is making policies, justifying themselves, and on the other hand, there is a group who is opposing them and hence maintaining the balance of power. The next question to be taken up in the chapter is, how many parties should we have? Right? The next question we face is, how many parties should we have? So in a country like India, where there are 750 parties registered with the Election Commission of India, we tend to see that there are only a handful of people who are finally, you can say, who are really effective to in the race, and they are the ones, they are the you can say, they are the ones who can win the elections and form the government, right? So the question we face is, how many major or effective parties are good for a democracy? Now in some countries we have just one party system. There is only one party which is allowed to control and run the government. In class 9th, we had studied about China, where only Communist Party is allowed to rule. Though people are free to form their political parties, but the electoral system does not permit free competition for power. So this one party system is not it's not a democratic option at all, right? One party system is not at all a democratic, is not working on democratic principles. So at least there should be two parties where there should be some competition, where there should be a fair chance of the other person to come to power. So in some countries, second option is there. In some countries we have bi-party system, or let's say two-party system. Here the power usually changes between two main parties, right? Though there are several other parties, they do manage to get a few seats, but the power is mostly is changing between these two major parties. Examples are United States of America and the United Kingdom. Then we have a multi-party system. Multi-party system means where several parties exist, where there are more than two parties who have a reasonable chance of coming to power, right? They have, either they can come on their own, or by forming an alliance they can come to power. So they all have a reasonable, but several parties have a reasonable chance of coming into power, and therefore in India we have a multi-party system because we have various diversities, we have different views, and all those views cannot be clubbed into one or two parties or three parties, and therefore we have a multi-party system. And in this, the government is formed by various parties coming together and contesting elections. Okay? They come together and they form their government. After, if they're formed a partnership, it is called an alliance, and once this alliance is elected, they form their government, which is known as a coalition government. Then you have the examples of alliances, like we have the National Democratic Alliance, we have the United Progressive Alliance. In National Democratic Alliance, BJP is the main party. In United Progressive Alliance, we had the Congress as the major party. Now this party system, it appears to be very messy. It's very confusing. There are so many parties, number of seats distributed among these parties. So it tends to be a messy affair, and it leads to political instability. But at the same time, this party system, it allows a variety of interests and opinions to enjoy political representation. We have been able to give all those variety of interests a share in power. So, which of these is better? Which one is better? Perhaps the best answer to this very common question is that this is not a very good question. That this is not a good question, because party system is not something that any country can choose. It depends on our past, it depends on our culture, it depends on the history which we have been coming through, which we have been witnessing, right? So these cannot be changed very quickly. Each party develops a party system that is conditioned by its special circumstances. In India, we have a multi-party system because we are too diverse. We have a social diversity, we have a geographical diversity, which cannot be absorbed in 2 or even 3 parties, right?